Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome back to my channel, Soul Journey. My name is Beck. Let's see. Ooh, look at that. Look at the sky. It looks so pretty. So this is kind of an impromptu video because I posted a post on Instagram with a filter of an avatar. And I was talking about, I guess you could call it a level of body dysmorphia around my human body. I know. Normal topics. And I put, like, at the end of the post, I was like, if anyone's interested in, having me make a video on this topic of my experience, let me know. And I was surprised at how many comments I got wanting to know about it. And I was like, okay, I guess it's kind of a starseed topic. I guess it's kind of like, I'm curious as to how many other people feel this way. I am kind of like, I think, more of a specific case because I'm actually a soul fork. So I actually have an extraterrestrial body that I'm projected down from. So in like a real way, like I have a body that feels much more coherent with my soul stream. So I wanted to talk a little bit about my experience because I'm sure not a lot of people have heard of this, or maybe you have felt this way, and maybe this is a confirmation for you. I don't know. For anyone who doesn't believe this, that's totally okay. This has just been my experience. I'm just putting it out here because honestly, I had way more followers ask me to do a video on it than I expected. So, and you guys seem to really like these videos. Some of my most viewed videos are, my channelings and talking about the Fae and all that. So like, I do want to make more videos like with that subject matter because you guys seem to absolutely love them. So let's get into it. So for those of you who follow my channel, I channel the Feline Council. I've talked about being a soul fork. I've talked about being a starseed. You can definitely go check those videos out for more in-depth explanations. But essentially, my soul stream is what they call a soul fork. So it's a little different than a normal like projection from source into a different dimension. So essentially I was projected down from source into a higher dimensional being from the feline race, from Lyra. And I've had psychic friends who've had no idea who I was explain me exactly how I've seen myself. I've had a lot of experiences, which I'll tell you about here. So the first time my higher essence came to me, let's see, wait, hold on. So projected down to the planet as a human, because extraterrestrials can't just like rock up to the planet, right? Is this cohesive? Anyway, so my higher self projected their consciousness onto the planet as a human. And just like every other human that's incarnated, I just saw 333. We have the amnesia, we come down, but at around 20 years old, most soul forks have this like realization of who they are. And that's exactly what happened to me. I started having these visions. I was not into extraterrestrials, but like all of a sudden, like I just felt like extraterrestrials are contacting me. Like it was the weirdest thing. Like I was actually kind of freaked out by extraterrestrials. So it was kind of a weird thing for me to be like, oh, that's what's happening. It was not like a logical conclusion. And I started having visions of being incarnated, and that was around the time a lot of my spiritual journey was really picking up. I'd been kind of on it for a few years, but that was like when it really started picking up. I started working with tarot and cards and started seeing visions and working with my guides. Like that's when that kind of was happening. So right before I moved, right before I moved to Australia, I got Reiki attuned, and that was the first time my higher self like actually came to me. So I was kind of sitting in front of myself in my like mind's eye. I could actually feel myself, and I actually drew my higher self while I was kind of like a little bit in like a trance state. And then a few days later, I showed the picture to my friend at the time, Natalie, who was extremely psychic, and she goes in the astral realms. Like she's really intense. If you've been on my channel for a while, she's been on my channel in the past. But anyway, I just showed her the picture with no context, and I was like, do you know who this is? And she's like, yeah, it's your higher self. I talk to her all the time, like all the time. She comes to my dreams, and I'm like, no context. And it was also like in pen, like there was no colors. And she's like, oh, she's blue and she's gold and blah, blah. And I was like, how do you know this? So that was kind of my first experience with that. And then right before I moved to Australia, literally like a few days, I had a session with Natalie, and she started channeling my higher self so that I could have a communication. And I started like almost zoning out. Like she wasn't trying to do like hypnosis or anything like that, but I just like got almost like I do in the channeling state now. And it was crazy. I just felt like this really like heightened energy. And then and my best friend Marielle was there, and then my friend Katrina, who Natalie was living with, they were just all there. And I literally just like stripped off all of my clothes because I was like having an ego death. And I laid out across the couch, and it was so weird. So my higher self is probably about 10 to 12 feet tall. Like the felines are quite large. And so I hadn't started channeling at this point. This was several years before that. And I had an idea of what they looked like. They kind of are like a combination between like a cat people and like an avatar from, a Navi from Avatar. They're blue, they're very tall, they're thin. So kind of a combination of the two. And I just felt my body like elongating across the couch. Like if I had like what I was feeling was that like my entire body was just like growing. It was crazy. And the whole experience for me lasted about 5 minutes. And then after that, I kind of felt myself shrink back down. And then like my ego kind of came back, and I was like, oh God, this is awkward. And I put my clothes back on, and I was just kind of like, okay. And everyone was just kind of staring at me. I was like, what happened? They're like, you were like out for 45 minutes. Like and when I looked around, like they'd all moved. Like I was like, I'd just been laying on the couch for 45 minutes in this like trance state, which was kind of wild. And so afterwards I asked Manali, I was like, well, what was that? And she was like, they were showing you like who you are, like who you can be ultimately. And this is the power you have behind you. Like just because you're in a human body, like there's so much more like packed behind you essentially. And they were like, they wanted you to feel what it was like to be fully in your power. I was like, well, damn. So when I went to Australia, I'm trying to remember like the first time I really connected with the Feline Council. I'd been connecting to my guides, but the first times I really experienced it like fully was in Australia around New Year's, and then like a month later. And then they really started coming in for me really strongly. So ever since I can remember, I just haven't felt like human, like, and I couldn't really put a name on it, but I just knew I was this like eternal being. Like I was really gravitated towards vampires, like elves, like all of these kind of immortal beings. I just had this like real draw to them. And I just always felt like I was kind of in the wrong body. And as I became more in tune with my higher dimensional body, and I appreciate my body in this planet, like I understand I incarnated to be a human in this dimension. Like this is part of the journey, is to sort of be incognito. But I have to say, like when I look in the mirror sometimes, especially when I've been in, when I'm channeling or I've really been in that mode, like I look in the mirror and I'm like, oh yeah, that's what I look like. And it feels like almost like a body dysmorphia. Like I can't imagine what it's like to be trans, like fully. Like I do have kind of a gender fluid kind of feel to it, but like I'm okay with being in my female body. Like I appreciate that this is my incarnation, and like I'm comfortable with it. So it's more of like I know I've been male, I know I've been female, I've been all these different things. So like I'm not really attached to being female, but I'm okay with it in this life. I'm not like uncomfortable with that piece. But the only thing I could really like compare it to is kind of like body dysmorphia, of like kind of looking in the mirror and being like, that's not quite right. Like my skin, I know this might sound weird, but like my skin color being this like tan, like makes me kind of like, it's not that it's bad, it just feels like off. Like it just feels kind of, Yeah, it's interesting. And so like the color that I usually like resonate with is like the blue skin. And I think that's why I had such an emotional reaction to Avatar, because that planet and those beings are very similar to the planet and the beings of you know, the feline race in Lyra. So I remember just having this like deep longing. And yeah, it's interesting because there is a part of me that definitely is like, well, if I could get the surgery to look just like a Na'vi, I like 100% would. Like, wouldn't even think about it. It would just be like a yes, because it would feel like that's my real body. And so when I posted that picture with the filter, I was like, this is like weirdly cathartic. Like, to see myself in that way. And it is kind of a weird experience because, again, like, I'm okay with it. It's just sometimes it kind of throws me off. And then when I went to Pandora at Disney World, which is like the Avatar land for the movie, they have a bust of Neytiri. So it's just from here up, and it's in this glass case, and it's life size. So she's huge. And I just walked up to it, and I started crying. Like, I felt like I was looking in the mirror. It was the weirdest thing because there's 11:11. It felt like I was in the wrong body. Like, it just felt kind of off. And there was something really just like, it just kind of like came over me. Like, I wasn't like expecting that to happen, but I was surprised at how much it like affected me emotionally. And I know there's a lot of groups online, you know, they talk about feeling like they're animals, you know, obviously there's trans people, there's a lot of people who feel like they're in the wrong body. And some of those are, you know, considered more valid than others. I personally believe because we're like one consciousness and we've been everything under the, you know, in the universe, like, I don't think it's that weird to feel like you're in the wrong body. We've been lots of things, and it makes sense that we'd resonate with a lot of things. So to me, that doesn't really surprise me. I do think there's a little bit of escapism in some of them. Maybe not so much with the trans thing, but the animals and stuff, you know, not really like owning the humanness. And I think you can own the humanness and recognize that it may not be your natural state. I'm not usually in the 3D. I usually incarnate in higher dimensions. Or if I am here on planet Earth or planets like it, I'm in the Fey world. So to have a physical human body isn't like the thing I often do, unless it's kind of like my friend Natalie once said. She's like, I don't incarnate as a human unless I really have to. She's like, unless something's like going down and I need to be a part of like an awakening, or I need to do, she's like, it's just not my favorite thing. But she's like, but I also recognize how much expansion comes from it. And it like, and I think there's a little bit of humanness there with the discomfort. I don't think spirit really has as much attachment to this idea of being human. It's just like, that's an experience and we like it and it feels and it's awesome. But there is a heaviness to it and there is a density to it. And when you do have memory or awareness of what it's like to have a different kind of body, there is a little bit of like, oh, that feels like it would be easier. Oh, that feels like it would feel lighter. And so it's important that if you're feeling that, you do like recognize that it can be a little bit of an escapism from the incarnation you have. Like, oftentimes when things are really complicated or painful, it's really easy to want to escape into the higher dimensional realms, right? But we need to recognize, you know, that like we 100% decided to come here at this time to incarnate as humans in these specific bodies. It's exactly perfect. Like, it's so perfect. And some of the discomfort does come from our feeling of separateness, or, you know, like, the reason I feel like I should have a different body is because I don't feel as connected to my higher self as, you know, I could. You know, if I was always connected, there would be this like feeling of, and I do get there oftentimes, you know, this feeling of like, everything is perfect. This is a perfect chapter. You know, things are always working out for me. Like, there's no resistance to it. And that's what my higher self is really at. So it's when, you know, you're out of alignment and you're feeling like things are wrong or things should feel different, that you're like, oh, I wish I could be in that other body or whatever. And again, that's not a judgment. That like, it makes sense. You know, we want that feeling of relief, because that feeling of relief is alignment. And so when we feel disconnected from our true selves, it can feel really uncomfortable. So I definitely encourage you to, like, when you're feeling that kind of discordant, energy. Like, recognize if there's a lack feeling under it, or if you're feeling like you shouldn't be here, or maybe this incarnation wasn't, you know, your choice. Or look at the belief systems that come with that, because, you know, missing your higher dimensional body, or like that state, often comes out of the fact that we're not in alignment with that aspect of us that is still there. You know, our you know, the bigger part of us, you know, like the human part is like the size of our pinky, right? And like the rest of us is still non-physical and like doing all the things. So the only reason we feel, you know, like we want to get back there is because we're not in alignment with that aspect, which isn't gone, you know, it's just we're less aware of it if we're not in alignment. So anyway, if you have any questions, or if you've had similar experiences, let me know. Comment down below, what star system do you think you're from? Have you ever heard of anything like this? Is this something that you've just stumbled across? Is this confirmation? Is this something that's coming up for you? Like, let me know your experience down in the comments. Yeah, let me know if there's any other topics maybe that I brought up in this video that you want me to elaborate on. I did make a video about why I feel why people had such a reaction to Avatar. I know a lot of people who had this almost like gut-wrenching depression after seeing Avatar, and I did make that video, but I never actually like posted it. So if that interests you, it's kind of similar topic, but I go into like a different part of it. So if that interests you, I can upload that at some point, or it is uploaded, I just haven't posted it. Yeah, anyway, kind of an interesting, different topic. Yeah. If you'd like to check out my other social media, and also to see the post I'm talking about from the beginning, you can check out my other social media pages. They are in the description down below, along with my Etsy shop where I do personal readings for people. And if you would like to support my content more full-time, I also do have a Patreon down there as well. And yeah, give this a like and hit subscribe if you haven't. Yeah. Also, are you guys enjoying like the more naturey? Did I do another nature? No, I didn't. No, I did that in an office. I don't know what I'm talking about. Are you liking the different scenery? That's the question. Do you like the different scenery? Is it more interesting? I have this beautiful pond in front of me. I will say, planet Earth does not necessarily feel like home. I kind of jokingly say that being here feels like being on a work holiday. Like, I'm here to enjoy it and experience, but I'm also here to do stuff and expand and bring information to the planet. This planet does not necessarily feel like home, but it is beautiful. And we really take it for granted. And when we really step into nature, when we really connect with the earth energies, like, we live on an alien planet. We live on an exquisite planet. So don't forget to take some time and appreciate it, because it's pretty next level. And we are kind of at this tipping point of where we could really kind of screw it up. I mean, I don't think we could screw it up long term. I think, you know, we'd end up screwing up ourselves first and the planet would just kind of continue. But let's not screw it up for ourselves. Let's not screw it up for the other animals who are here on the planet. Let's like dive in to the glorious richness and give her the respect and the worship she deserves, because she's phenomenal. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Yeah, and definitely comment down below. I love getting you guys' comments. So many blessings. Namaste. And don't forget, it is all about the soul journey.